All right, we are now live. It looks like we are in the broadcast set up. Everything should be rolling. I see we've got Jason Inberg there in the chat. There were some nice surprises in the TV show. Yes, I agree, Jason. I thought there were as well. So anyway, it's nice surprises. So how's everyone doing today, by the way? Yeah, good. We like to hear it. How was that main programming? Was it what you expected? Were you surprised? Was it fun? Yeah, good. Come on in. We just started. So, yeah. Well, glad y'all enjoyed that. That was a long time in the making. So Rick Apis and I did quite a bit of work on that, and I thought it was very, very fun. So anyway, for those who don't know, I'm Vance, the Bard of the Red Hand on YouTube, also a staffer here at WatCon, and this is the Best and Worst TV Show Revelations panel. Is my memory correct? Am I right on that? Yes, of course. So anyway, I'm going to let my other panelists here go down the line and introduce themselves. So.
I am Zool, or Dana Lou, who on YouTube I mod a lot of places on YouTube and Discord, and I'm also in charge of the Discord for WatCon, so I'm also on the staff. This is my first live panel ever. So.
I'm Lauren from a YouTube channel called Unraveling the Pattern, and thank you. That's all.
I am Jen Isgro. I am from the Talk Around Riyadh Wheel of Time Showcast. We are a podcast that specializes in show news. We also do deep dives into book content. So I am excited to be moderating this panel today with these extraordinary panelists. Basically, we broke down our favorite and I guess you would say least favorite moments for the Wheel of Time season 1. So who wants to be the first to get started? Vance, you want to start off with one of your favorite moments from the show?
Sure. Let me just pull up my notes here.
Real quick, I don't think we're going to be talking spoilers outside of the show.
Outside of the TV show?
I don't think so either, but does anybody...
Except the last scene in the last book. No.
Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Has anyone
all the way to the memory of
finished
life.
the series?
That one chapter.
In here? Okay, I think we're good, actually.
Okay.
So. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we got to spoil
One
the
per-
fact
okay.
that
All
we
right,
got to
so
spoil the
let's-
fact that Rand helped Santa save Christmas, right?
Yeah.
So
That's a big one.
All right, we're good, but there's one person, so try to be careful.
So you guys are okay
No,
with
there's one person.
season spoilers, but
Oh,
not
season
book
one
spoilers, right?
Right.
Okay. Just wanna
TV
make sure.
spoilers only.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, we're set for that. So, a little bit of feedback,
mic.
a little hot. Just that. That's a bit better, I think. Okay. So anyway, as I said, I'm Vance, and I'm going to kick this off. And one of the things that I really liked the most that the show did was how they introduced Tom and his entire reveal into the show in episode 3. For me, that hit a lot better, especially in the interpretation of the show that they're going for, rather than in the books. I still love Book Tom. I still love his introduction there. Do not get me wrong. Absolutely. One of my favorite little side characters throughout the series. But just for what they were doing with the show, I felt that tonally he fit quite well. And that entire sequence where he comes on stage, does the song, it was just so awesome, I think. Yeah, I hear it. So I'm working on it. So, bear with me. It's
This is
all
the-
the way over here.
This is the first panel of WatCon
Yes.
ever.
The
One
first,
of
yes,
three.
one of the first.
So might have a little bit of technical
And
glitches.
so it's also the best.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If
And
you're not
worse.
first, you're last, right? So, anywho, but yeah, that was one of my favorite revelations in the show is when we were finally presented Tom, and everything about it, from changing it from his harp, which is actually like a lyre, into a guitar, was just phenomenal for me. I'm a guitarist, so I was predisposed to like this entire concept. But yeah, I'll just pass it off to Dana now and let her get started on hers.
For me, seeing what they did with Logain. So much of Logain happens off page in the book. And for them to show his beginnings of when he thinks that he is the Dragon Reborn, and show that the path that he goes through, it's going to give him that full arc. And for what that means to the viewer, who is like, at that point in the show, we don't know who the Dragon Reborn is, but then once we realize it's one of our young protagonists, you start to see what that person might have to go through, because we see that Logain is a little bit mad. He has, the voices talking to him. Yeah, the tank. He has the tank puppets. And an extra thing I really liked about the tank puppets is that one of them was female. And that is a change from book canon, that the Dragon Reborn can be female. And Moiraine mentions that, and this reinforces that. But then you also see what he goes through when he is stilled. And so gentled, I'm sorry, I knew I had the wrong word. When he is gentled. And so that's a possibility for any male channeler. The cold open shows, another mad one. So now we know some of the stakes for Rand. And so I really appreciate that entire arc.
I just want to go off of something you said. Is he the one who thinks that those are past dragons speaking
Yes.
to him? It doesn't necessarily mean that they are past dragons.
Right.
Exactly. So that is something that if you've only seen the show, you might think, well, maybe they really are past dragons, but
Or even past lives.
past.
And
yeah,
Maureen says, no, they're
Right.
just the delusions of a madman or something. to
Yeah,
that
I mean, we don't
effect.
really know,
yeah.
but I just thought that was interesting.
But he obviously believes at least that the dragon could have been female. Maybe it was a past female dragon that he has, talking to him, or he thinks is talking to him, which I really liked.
I love that. All I wish is that we had more of it, right?
Yeah.
More Logain.
More
Right,
Logain.
yeah. I mean, I think that's generally like universally agreed upon. One of the best parts of the show is Logain.
It's great.
And I really did like that they showed his backstory, just that one scene, because really, as far as we've gotten so far, he hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess he was.
Well, he did start a war and
but
a
that,
war
but,
rebellion.
no spoilers, but other people do that too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he's the dragon. For him, he's the dragon. That's what the dragon
not only
does.
that, but-
I mean,
When he has the opportunity to kill the king,
He does
and
it,
the
right.
tank puppets are telling him
Yes.
to,
right.
he doesn't do it.
Mhm.
I mean,
he
he-
resists that tank.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I mean, the Aes Sedai are keeping him captured, so of course he's going to attack back.
Right, yeah.
Love it.
A little self-preservation.
Yeah.
Well, I have a problem where I overanalyze the show. So, if anyone has seen anything I've made, it's a problem. I don't stop thinking about it ever. My wife is like, "Am I second to you?"
That is
She knows. So one of the things I love about the show is some of the themes that are embedded into it, and
Mhm.
specifically, most people, when you ask them what's your favorite or what's your least favorite episode, most people, it seems, say the last episode of the season. And then a lot of people say their second least favorite is the first episode.
Mhm.
And both of those episodes were written by Rafe Judkins, who is the showrunner. And so he gets a bad rap. A lot of people are negative about that. But one of the things I absolutely love about the season as a whole is that it kind of comes full circle. And I have a quote here from Tam from the first episode. He says, "All we can do is the best we can with the life that's given to us." This is after Rand asks, do we remember our past lives? Why doesn't the will, something to the effect of why don't we remember our past lives? He says, "All we can do is the best we can with the life that's given to us and take comfort from it. That no matter what happens, what pain we face, what heartbreak, even death, the wheel keeps turning always. And we try again, maybe do a little better than the last time." Then we get in the beginning of the final episode, that scene where Lews Therin, in his arrogance, goes on to cage the Dark One, as they say in the show. And now we get to see a future version of him, the next turning version of the dragon, where he gets to hopefully do a little bit better. And that moment when he has that vision, and all he ever wanted was a simple life with Egwene, right, to raise a family.
Mhm.
And he has this opportunity to basically make it a reality, according to the man, the Dark One, if you want to believe what he says, right? He has this opportunity to make that a reality, and he realizes he needs to do what's right for Egwene, and he can't take that away from her. And so he just did a little bit better. So I know that's a lot, but just that kind of theme of, and then also the whole man who can't forget.
Right.
And the fact that he sees his life and he sees his past version of himself. He can't forget. He is that man.
Mhm.
I just love that whole.
Yeah.
Anybody
Fantastic.
We're good. Okay. I will start off with one of my favorite scenes, which is Nynaeve killing the Trolloc in the sacred pool.
Yes.
Sounds great.
I mean, we all knew that Nynaeve was not dead, but I mean,
What? Whoa, hashtag spoilers so
read the
much.
book, what? That's not a spoiler.
No.
Like, wait, did I ruin something? But just, I mean, the end of episode 2, where she just appears out of nowhere and holds a sword to Lan's throat,
Mhm.
and then just that whole fight, it just like tells you so much about Nynaeve, how she's like a fighter and she's a protector, and just that it takes place in that pool. And I really wish that, I feel like if we had gotten that scene from the trailer with Egwene in the sacred pool,
Yeah.
like rising up, it would have made that fight so much more meaningful, because it would have been like Egwene being reborn as a woman,
Mhm.
and then her killing the Trolloc, and like from birth, you know, the blood coming out.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, I feel like that would have even hit harder.
That would have been
Yeah.
nice.
But I just love that scene. I think that scene was one of the best scenes in the show.
Absolutely.
All right, guys want to move on to one of your least favorite scenes?
Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah. This is the juicy stuff here.
Here
It's
we
the
go.
juicy stuff.
Okay, we only have 50 minutes left,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
let's try to make it that. Okay,
So, who wants to go first?
I'm going to start with Dina on this one.
Oh.
All right. So for me, something that was very problematic was the way that they portrayed linking in episodes 4 and 8, and how that was confusing, and also the fact that you could burn out. How did, the way that they showed, it's drastically different between what they showed in episode 4 with the movements that they made and each one coming in. It's not the way it's written in the book. And so I was like, okay. But then you move to episode 8, where you have unexperienced people linking. They're not even experienced, and you have with just, holding, grasping the source and opening up to it. And especially Nynaeve, who has proven that she can only channel when it's like something really strong, that she like bursts out with it. She's angry. She wants to protect. She wants to save. And I don't know where they're going with this, because you shouldn't be able to join into a circle the ways that they have shown it. And so I don't like the uncertainty of it.
Yeah.
I really, I don't know that how much they've thought this through and what impact it's going to have on the rest of the story. Now, I figure we're going to be seeing some more of learning to channel and all of that. But the fact that you could be in a circle and burn out is problematic for me. I don't like that change. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, that somebody else can burn you out.
Somebody
Right,
else,
yeah.
they have a hold
Like
of you
the
so
hot 90.
strongly
Yeah.
that they can burn you out. And that if you're the weak link, because that's the way it's kind of portrayed, it was those who were the weakest who burnt out first.
Mm.
Yeah, and yes, exactly. And it's like, I have a hold of you now. You're just going to die if
Mhm.
I overuse you. You're
Right.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did not like that change.
Can I say something about that?
Absolutely.
Am I allowed to
Yes,
talk?
please make your comments. Go ahead.
You know,
everyone. Feel free.
I agree to some extent. My personal opinion is there are a lot of things in the show that they intended that didn't quite come across right. And I think part of that might be the writing or various reasons. And I think the intent there was that they wanted to say the one power is addictive. It's
I get that.
it's high stakes.
Mhm.
You don't know what's going to happen. And then I also I've heard many people say this, but I love the idea that they took the most like untrained or not super experienced women who could channel, not knowing that they had a nuke. which
Right.
is
Yeah.
naive,
Naive.
right?
Yeah.
They didn't realize they had this, and I don't even know that Nynaeve realized it.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And so when this woman who was sort of half trained suddenly got a taste of the river when all
Mhm.
she'd ever had before was a drip,
Right.
I think she just overdid it. To me, the mistake that, in my opinion, they made in that scene isn't so much the burnout thing, because I kind of like that change because it does raise the stakes. It's like, look, you're not safe in a circle. If you don't trust a person who takes over the circle, this could be bad for you.
Right.
You know, it creates some interesting things there. The
Mhm.
thing that I didn't like is that 4 untrained women destroyed an entire army.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like it was nothing. If that's how it worked, I mean, I know that several of them died. So,
Right.
but if that's how it works, then 3 Aes Sedai should be fine
Mhm.
in Tar Valon when the Trollocs come knocking,
Yeah.
right? I don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was it. That was your question. All right.
I want to say one thing when he's done.
Next question.
You mentioned it, and it's something that I thought about when you watched the show. It is different linking when the Aes Sedai do it versus when someone who's not an Aes Sedai does it.
Hmm.
Do you think that that's intentional, and do you think that that is the reason why they are so powerful in what they can do and it's so dangerous? Okay,
It's okay. I can just repeat the question.
So, Dana, you mentioned when you talked about how you didn't like it, that it was different, right, between the first time when Aes Sedai link and at the end when non-Aes Sedai link. Do you think that that's intentional? Do you think that that difference and that untrained person trying to do something like that can be the in-story reason why it's so dangerous and why it's so powerful? Maybe Amelisa doesn't know how to link and links in a dangerous way, and maybe that's
Interesting.
the reason
I mean,
why.
It wouldn't take much to explain that and make me feel better, to be honest. You know? That's a great point.
I
Yeah.
never thought about the fact that you think she was able to pull so much power because Nynaeve was in the circle.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I
Hmm.
thought she just was pulling and pulling. I never thought about how weak she was and the fact that she wouldn't even be able to get that much.
Right.
Well, and that is also
And
a little
Egwene, too.
different.
Well,
from
yeah,
the books, but-
That goes back to they didn't explain like how you become an Aes Sedai and what criteria you're
Yeah, we
supposed to
haven't even
meet
gotten there
in
yet.
terms of power level to be trained fully at the tower,
I
right?
think I saw someone who wanted to say something. Yeah.
Yep.
Do we want to
You could
pass?
just
Pass the mic.
Do you
you
wanna
could just
just-
repeat it.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah, it's fine.
That'll be our
Okay.
mic. Perfect. Perfect.
So I actually thought something similar, and I wasn't sure if the show was trying to establish the same way we know like a circle can operate very much the same way as an Angreal, and some have buffers and some don't.
Mhm.
So maybe
Yes.
if you're not trained, you don't know how to do the sort of buffer
Mhm.
thing that is, in
Possibly.
Angreal.
I like
I
that
like
answer.
That's interesting.
Amelisa discovered a new way to link that's more dangerous.
Right.
I
But
mean,
potentially
I-
more powerful?
I definitely feel like they're like, yes, they did destroy a lot of Trollocs, but like they're all dead, basically. I mean, one of them came back to life.
Mhm.
But
Right.
That's another story.
but like that's why Aes Sedai don't just always do this, because
Right.
they would all die. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, I think it's okay to have book 1 spoilers. Is that okay for everybody?
I mean, we're basically
Yeah,
there
yeah,
at the end of the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Rand destroys an army by himself.
But that's
So why
Right,
can't
yeah.
3 or 4 linked women do it? I mean, that's
Mhm.
probably acceptable.
Yeah.
I don't. Sorry, I'm not.
it's
That's
okay.
fair. That's a fair
Yeah.
comparison.
Hi. There's also, with the whole people destroying themselves to do like a huge act with the power,
Mhm.
that pays off the story of Menethrin
Mhm.
and the
Yeah.
queen, who like after the city is overrun, then when she's feeling that despair, she destroys herself and it destroys everything.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that a lot.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it does. I
at
still
this.
have
This
a
is, like,
problem with the
fair.
fact, I still have a problem with the fact that once you're in a circle, it's supposed to be naturally buffered. And I want them to explain this. I mean, yes, I agree with what you're saying. It could be what they're saying is this person doesn't know how to do it or whatever, but I really want them to explain it.
Okay. Let's move on to something else we don't like.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll go to Lauren next.
I gotta remember what I don't like.
Yeah, I have it
Choose
here.
one.
Yeah, I have it here.
Oh, okay. This is a bit of a nitpick. As a book reader, I love the idea of Lan being able to track and then Nynaeve surprising him. And I know this is a nitpick, but this idea that Lan, who's been with Moraine for 20 years, doesn't know her tell. And she's like, oh, she has a tell. And he's like, tell it to me so I can go find her. I'm like, are you kidding?
Yeah.
So this is where I have trouble finding things wrong with the show. And it's little nitpicks like this. I tend to be kind of positive and optimistic about the show. But that just annoyed me for some reason. And I have a theory that, it's not mine. I think it was Leslie Nerdy's theory, and I love it. And that is they probably originally intended to have Perrin go along with Lan into the Blight and use his sense of smell to help track them. And because Barney Harris left the show, they had to kind of give Perrin something to do in the city with Pat and Fane.
Wait,
Just
Perrin
start
did
plugging
something? What?
So, and this is something we can get to a little bit later, but the lack of Perrin development in the second half of the season was something that I personally disliked. But anyway.
Yeah, I think that probably was not meant to. That Lan thing was probably a reboot or whatever,
Right,
a rewrite
Yeah.
of what they had to do in the episode.
Right.
Unfortunately. Okay, so let me get to one of mine, and this is something I've got a little bit of criticism for on my show, but I don't like the way Rand leaves Egwene at the end of episode 7. I feel that as a show watcher, it's different from all that we know. In the books, like they grow apart and it's more mutual, and they're, I don't want to go too spoilery, but they kind of just separate, and then it gradually, naturally, they go apart from each other. He has sex with her and then disappears, never to see her again. And to me, as if I'm just watching the show, they've built up this relationship. Like, we know they were not going to be together, but then they got back together and they made up, fight, whatever it is. I'm investing myself in these two kids. And now next season, we know whatever was going to happen next season with the people that have been cast. I don't want to spoiler it, but somebody will do something's going to happen with him and someone. And I don't there's many people, I don't know who it'll be, but I just don't I don't at the table. I don't like that. I just don't like the way he just slipped out of bed and is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just as a show watcher, I don't, and what I'm going to see in the second season, I'm going to be mad at him for that. I don't like it. I don't know. I just don't like it.
Yeah, and he had that kind of moment where we sort of talked about this, where he was able to sort of do something for her. He was able to make a good choice for her. She doesn't know.
Right.
No.
She wasn't there.
Right.
She wasn't.
But that was after he already left. And when
Right.
he's in the yard shooting arrows, he knows he's going. And he still sleeps with her anyway. And they think it was goodbye sex, and I don't want to hear it because she didn't know it was goodbye sex. She did not know.
That's
Right.
really
To
true.
him, it was goodbye sex. For her, it was, we're back together. This is going to work out now.
Yep.
She wakes up and
Yeah.
he's gone. Literally, he's dead now, I guess, to her. And she's going to find out, oh, no,
Yeah.
I just left.
I didn't really think about that. That's
still better than the love triangle.
Oh, well,
Okay.
speaking of, but I want to let Vance do one.
We actually have that one on the
Yeah.
docket.
so I hear what you're saying. It is a little bit of a kick the dog moment
Mhm.
for our hero. If they do something that you find a little bit unforgivable, it's going to change your view
Mhm.
of the protagonist.
Mhm.
And so I kind of agree with you there.
Mhm.
All right, Vance? you wanna-
All right, yeah. So mine is it's metaphysics bending in a way from the books into the show that I didn't like, and I call this the booty call ter'angreal. I absolutely now to set the level for this. I loved Soirain. Loved it. I thought that was fantastic. It's in the books. They just moved it slightly from where it's located. No big deal. No issue with that. Loved it. I just did not like the booty call ter'angreal. You're telling me the White Tower, this thing that has been built over 2,000 years roughly, doesn't have secret passageways to get to an Amyrlin secret vault room? Come on. Why do they need this like lore breaking device. It's essentially a superpower, and they go to a hut in Tyr.
What were they in Tyr though?
Oh, were they in Tyr, or was it into a dream shard? God, it was a gateway. It was a gateway. They said it opened a gateway. Done. They can go back and edit that. Yeah, there is. I do not think they initially intended it to be Tel'aran'rhiod, because we don't have any hint of that. No. We may have hint of dream shards, but we don't have hint of
The
Tel'aran'rhiod.
hut was destroyed when Swan was young.
That's true. She could have rebuilt it with money.
The
Could be a
lighting.
different hut.
The
Yeah,
lighting.
it's a hut.
No. This was Swan's
Mm-hmm.
imagined.
Yep.
You think it was Tel'aran'rhiod?
I absolutely
Okay.
think it was. There's
All right, we
even
have,
like-
we have a
there's-
question in the
oh, yeah.
back too. so
Okay.
let me-
Okay, I was gonna say, there was something in an article that Rosamund Pike said about this. I really wish we got a little more in the show to explain it. After your question, I'll have something to say about what she said.
Well, this is more of a comment. You're talking about inappropriate use of magical power. This is all completely human.
Mhm.
Because let's talk about computers for a second. And what drove computer development the most? Porn and games.
All right.
Completely PG panel.
One more.
Did you want to say something too?
There's someone
No,
beside you.
I was just gonna say, do we think it's like? Do you think the booty called Tarango had a purpose in like setting up the use of the waygates, which came pretty quickly afterwards, and they used the power for that? So it's like another use of the power to travel, just like introducing the concept early, basically.
I like that.
Okay, yeah.
And also other doorways that may come later. Other types of gateways.
What if,
Mhm.
like, I'm sorry, Dana. What if later on somebody like you finds out about it, and that's how like
That's what I'm.
Ooh,
like goes
okay.
through to see what it is, and then like figures something out. I gotta be so vague, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, in the discussion of whether or not they physically go somewhere or if it's in a dream shard or whatever it is, Moiraine said that it was not in Tel'aran'rhiod. It was specifically, but that it was in some place very near, but not the actual Tyr, but somewhere near. So there could be an argument for it being a dream shard, or this just goes to, or like a specific place that you can then design how you like. But the fact that nobody in the White Tower figured it out is just a little bit nuts.
I agree.
Yeah.
No spoilers, but they do have a basement of stuff that. nobody
Yeah.
seems to
Again, this is stuff that book readers know that show watchers don't know.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, they don't know about this stuff about the White Tower. And this is
Same problems with
Yeah.
the Aes Sedai,
Right.
It's like, oh.
so
Who's-
it's just
who's
it
the
gets to
woman?
part of my core issue with the show is that there's a lot of lore and a lot of minutes burned on not presenting lore that they could have used. And I'm a little it just reflects my disappointment of like, I want to know specifically what this is. And I feel like they could have explained it, but they didn't.
But they also
We have
kind
a
of did in
question back there.
Trivia.
Thank you.
A little bit, but I wasn't satisfied. I need more is what I'm saying.
What was the name of that Aes Sedai who studied like everything? Corianna Nadil.
Nadil, yeah.
But she
Yeah.
she was like always the booty call. She
Do your comment, Vance, but
Mm.
as book readers, we didn't know all about all that other stuff either until about
True.
later on in the series.
Mhm.
And we had to guess the entire time. But don't you think that that's playing part of it?
It could be. It
So
could just be
there's
me
like-
being impatient.
I'm just saying it could be they're just playing it out just like they did like you did in the books.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not asking for explanations on everything, but some of it is just like, they're not giving you any explanation for anything. It seems like at times, I don't know.
Think of the whole storeroom of Just throwing her all that can use for sexy.
Oh, I've thought of it.
Well, I mean, yeah. Anyway,
There's oath rods and oath rods everywhere.
I think this kid-
All right.
you might want to just hold on to it.
Yeah.
yeah, just keep it. Stop bringing it up here. Come on.
The microphone too.
So, but I think you make a great point. The part of, so I threw a big party for the premiere and I invited tons of non-book readers to come watch it. And so one of the things that was interesting for me was following up with them as they watched the season. And like my wife had never read the books and other people in my family had not read the books but watched the shows. And so it's been really interesting for me to see book fans' reactions versus non-book fans' reactions. And some of the things that we react to strongly, like, oh, the lore feels different. Like when a non-book reader watches Moraine go through that ter'angreal, whatever it is, they go, ooh, magic doorways.
Right.
And they're like, wow. And they don't go, gee, I wonder what the metaphysics of that doorway is.
Right.
You know, but-
Exactly.
And so like, I think part of what's challenging is satisfying both audiences, right? And some of the things that definitely threw me off were moments like that, where something happens and in my brain, I go, that is wrong.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
in the moment I'm watching it, I go, wait, that's wrong. And then when I would watch the show a second time, adapt to it and process it from a storytelling perspective. But my wife and my kids and my friends who watch the show who are not book readers, almost none of the moments that bugged me even raised their
Right.
antenna at all. And so I just think it's a very tricky balance to thread this path where we've all read all the books, most of us, many of us multiple times. And so the stuff that catches us is not the same stuff that they are trying to do for like non-book audience, right? Because for the show to make 8 seasons, it's got to be a lot more than just us watching it, right?
Yeah,
A lot
that's true.
more.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, and on top of that, if you've ever listened to Ali and Gus's podcast, which is great, by the way.
Wheel Takes, by the
Wheel
way.
Takes
Wheel Takes.
podcast by Ali and Gus. They break down the shows, and she's in television. She has a lot of background in that. They talk about a lot of things that I never considered, but one is these shows are made for your grandma too, in the sense, or your mom who kind of is half paying attention. Your mom who's like, who's that again? It's like, that's the main character. They've been here.
Right.
So they do have to, in some ways, try to dumb things down. And as book readers, we invested so much into these books, so much.
Oh,
time.
into 15 books? Really? We invested a lot?
And now I'm
4.4 million
thousands
words.
of hours into content creation. It's like we can't think rationally sometimes. And you're absolutely right. That first viewing, it's like, okay, now that I've dived into the deep end, the cold water, got that shock out of the way, I can adjust, rewatch it. Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's go back to best, and we'll start with you on this one.
I didn't like anything else. I really don't remember what I wrote. What did I write? Oh, well, I'm going to steal this from you. This
I
was
knew
on
you
your
were gonna-
list,
I'm
but you asked me.
All right, we'll do it together. Go.
Dana the Dark
Dana.
Friend.
Yes.
Just, people talk about why would you be a dark friend? And the show tackled that in a way that I actually really liked. And I liked her. She was so interesting as a character. Sad that she got killed so quickly. But I love that she had actually pretty good reasons to be a dark friend.
You mean she didn't just show up for the t-shirt like Pater?
So, you should expand on that, but she's definitely great.
I just loved how it wasn't from the book, but it felt like it could be.
Yes.
And
Oh
that
my
was
God,
like
yes.
just what made it so good. Like, we know Tom throws knives, but were we expecting him to throw a knife through her neck? No. And like when it happened, it was just like, yes, that's what would happen.
Yes.
Like everything was just like, they just broke down all of that traveling into one little scene. We got everything we needed. And she was I just loved the actress. I thought she was great. The
Oh, she was
scenes were
fantastic.
great. It's my favorite episode. I think like
Yeah.
every scene with them, I just loved. Fun, like funny, just like a really I just loved how that should be like the whole show. So, and I also liked how like it was good for us because it was new.
Yes.
So it's something that we appreciate as book fans because yes, it came out of the book, but it surprised us
Mhm.
and it gave us something new to watch. So it's not just everything exactly from the book. It's right to the screen.
Yeah, I actually think you're hitting on a point too. Like that, a lot of what's really well done in the show, it does call back to the books, or it's showing us stuff that you know is going on during the time frame from a different perspective, right?
Yes.
The entire first book.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's awesome. Like I think that's like the Logan stuff resonated
Yeah.
because you know what's happening,
Mhm.
but then it's like, oh, we'll show you what's happening, and it doesn't change anything that you know about the books.
Right.
It's just giving you more about what's happening. So I love that Dana scene for the same reason.
Mhm.
We had another one over here.
I just wanted to add that one I think is really cool about Dana as a dark friend is that she doesn't fall into the trope of just greed
Yes.
and, power. She's different. She has different motivations and they're not cliche at all.
Yeah.
So it's very creatively done.
Yes.
I really like that she really explains her motivation, but she's also trying to like maybe bring someone else to her side, and you really understand. I like the fact that there is more than one possible motivation, and the fact that she's our first dark friend,
Right.
and what a great first example of it. And you don't expect it, and I love that.
The choice to make her an ordinary,
Yes.
barmaid.
Right. Well-
we get in, what's the guy? I'm gonna forget his name.
Peter.
How
Oh,
goad
no.
and yeah,
But like
from the books.
like
Yeah.
charming and like
Uh-huh.
it was their first
Well, yeah,
experience
that's-
with like
she
it's not
almost-
all Murdrawl and Trollocs.
Mhm.
It's gonna be people you don't expect.
Right. I
She
really
almost
liked that it
convinced
could literally be anybody
Right.
in the world.
Yes.
Like you have no idea. And that really, I think, resonated with all of us book readers because we do see that throughout the series of sometimes it's people we don't expect. There's some obvious, ones out there who are like Snidely Whiplash out there. Yeah. But,
Sting the mustache.
yeah. But anyway, there's others who are a lot more subtle and they're just, when we get them and the revelations happen, it's like, wow, I never saw that coming. But when you start looking back and you see some things fall into place and click, it's like, aha, I got it. And I'm hoping that they can continue that trend with Dark Friends throughout the show.
Another thing that I love is she sort of says, look, the dragon could save us. I love that they set up this idea that the dragon is a savior for the dark friends, not just the good people, or whatever you want to call them. The light friends? I don't know. Doesn't sound right. Children of the light? No.
No.
But I really do like that she's like, no, the dragon could save us from this terrible existence.
Yes.
And the dragon could break the wheel. I think that's a really great setup.
Yeah.
And the way he's being taunted again in that finale
Yep.
all kind of harkens back to that. Rand has all these little strings he doesn't even know attached to him
Right.
being manipulated to make decisions down the road. And I'm very excited about the payoff.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone had their hand up.
One thing I just wanted to expand on too with that with Dana was the fact that the first episodes, again, there's a lot going on, but the first two episodes, chase, bam, place of safety ish.
Right.
And then they're here and they're finally like, oh, we're not getting chased, everything's great, and then they happen to walk upon someone, then that now becomes basically someone that's chasing them. Like there's no freedom. There's no. I like how they introduce that as there's not just people chasing you; they're already looking for you wherever you go. So.
She also made Matt do an honest day's work.
Yes.
That's also, I think, one of my favorite jokes in the show, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but he's like, "Do you want to take turns or something?"
Yeah.
Like, did she go for it? The wood, Matt.
The wood.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Do we want to do another one?
Do I want to do another
No,
one?
do we want to do another of our favorites?
Yeah.
I
Or
think we're
our-
up to Vance, right? For
Okay,
favorites?
So
Go
one
ahead.
more. All right. So one of my favorite revelations of the show was when we got to see Leandrin in full force in episode 4 because oh man, did Kate Fleetwood sell me on that character. I am in love with the show's Leandrin because just we all know in the books it's kind of hard to like. But in the show, I think she's we know that she has her own motivations and her own desires and things she wants to just take from folks, and that she has maybe nefarious intentions for other people, but ultimately she's very charismatic, and the way that she is portrayed, she has some sympathetic angles to her, which I did not expect actually from the show, and it was one of the strongest pieces of the writing I felt throughout the entire first season was her characterization. So I mean, I just absolutely.
Do you believe that they were hinting at some sort of past thing between Leandrin and Moraine?
I do think yes. I think I think that.
I like that.
Yeah. Yes. But I definitely think that was hinted at very strongly, which is an interesting twist. Yeah, it wasn't a hint. It was very, very much put up front there. But it adds that interesting dimension to their relationship now, right? You know, because it's not something we necessarily got in the books. But it's something that, like we said with a lot of the things in episode 3, it could have been there, right? We actually don't get a lot of very many of Moraine's past relationships from the book series, and if they do expand upon that in the show, that's a strength I think they could play to, because I think one element of the books everyone always wants is more time with these characters and more of these characters to have some fleshed out personalities, because some of them are 2,200 plus named characters. How are you going to get them all in, right? So we can get some of the favorites and maybe combine and beef them up where we can. That can be a really strong point, especially moving into seasons 2, 3, so on. So
I'd like to move on from that. I'm going to change the one I was going to talk about, because you're talking about learning more about some of the Aes Sedais. We learn about some of their motivations and the fact that you see them in their Ajahs, and you see Ajahs in conflict with each other in their motivations. I really like the fact, because in the first book, it's mostly from Rand's point of view. Like 90% of it's from his point of view. And so and we don't get much of the White Tower, and the White Tower and the Aes Sedai are so important to the whole story. And I love the fact that, this proves to us that Rafe has thought about the entire story, and he's like, okay, this really important piece needs to be brought forward, and we need to show everyone who they are and give them at least a little bit of an understanding that there are these Ajahs, different colors with different motivations. And I like the fact that we got I guess it was episode 4 where we had them in the camp, the Aes Sedai camp, and so you get to see not just that, maybe the greens and the reds are very segmented, but you get to see different relationships between Warder and Aes Sedai. And even within, let's say, the green, each Aes Sedai is going to have a different relationship with her warders, because you have, some who are very obviously, amorous, some who might be just more deep friends, and then you have them even talking about Lan and Moiraine. I really loved that moment when she says, "I always get emotional when you drink," and so it's moments like that they bring in, and they give us a little bit of an insight. So that's something about their bond, and that you get to see how important this bond and this relationship is for everyone who has a warder, so that sets you up for when one of the pair dies, and they show how devastating that is. So I really love bringing all of this White Tower stuff forward into season 1. That's it.
Good stuff. Yep. Good.
Okay, we have a question or a
I'm just
comment.
going to make a quick comment on that. One of my favorite moments about the White Tower is the Circle of Gold when they bring the ring back. It's such a small moment, but I think it's so indicative of their ceremony and the Wheel of Time and all that. So
A literal eternal flame of Tarvalon.
Right.
It's brilliant.
Literal.
Why didn't Robert Jordan think of that?
All right, let's go back. I think we have time for one more round of our least favorite.
We might have time for one more person.
Well, I'm going to go first. I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. Layla.
Yep.
Layla. When I saw her, she just looked so cool. Her character, even though she only said like 2 or 3 words, just like the design with like the braids and she just looks so cool.
Yep.
And I'm just so sad that we couldn't get more of her. I would have liked to get a little bit more of her. I understand why they had to do it. I don't like it, but I understand why they did it. I don't like. There was a part where he put his hand on her stomach and they zoomed in on it. So for a while, I was like, oh, the problem is that she lost her baby, or they can't have a baby, or she's pregnant, or something.
Something like that. Yeah.
And then that was not I don't know what you never zoom in on a woman's stomach on TV unless she's pregnant. You just don't. Like, or you don't touch a woman. Like, that's just like.
Well, then they
pregnancy.
killed that in the last episode, or episode 7, whenever they did the love triangle thing. So it's like, oh.
And like when you look back, there's like a couple of moments where like Nynaeve says, "Oh, you should go home," like in the but not really. Like, it didn't play at all until they were fighting. I was like, what? Even the time when Perrin and Egwene were alone, like with the wolves, I never got the sense that he had any feelings for her at all.
I know.
So I wonder if like they were gonna do that and then they made it bigger in episode 7 to fill time with that scene of the argument. Like, I don't know. It's just.
My opinion.
But like,
what Matt's scene was cut out that they had to,
Right,
they had
right.
to really focus on this so much.
My opinion is that he didn't have feelings for her, romantic feelings for her in the show. That it was a past crush. I mean, she was the girl next door. You know,
it's like the girl that everybody liked.
And I think
in town,
I think Layla knew that to some degree. I mean, Rand did say, "Oh yeah, you got together with Layla the day that I got with Egwene."
And
right?
that's weird.
And that's awkward. But my justification for that is this was a plan B for the show writers because Matt.
I
left.
thought you meant for Perrin.
Yeah.
All right, I guess.
That's not what I meant. No, I think the writers had to come up with a plan B because Matt was gone, and I think they were like, "Well, we kind of hinted at this before. Maybe we can work with this." That's part of it. But I also think they resolved it fairly quickly. People call it a love triangle. It wasn't really a triangle.
No, it's not a triangle.
It was more like at one point, Perrin had feelings for Egwene, possibly, and then he lost his wife. That's still fresh, and he sees Rand being happy and.
Yeah, that's
think
what
it
I
was
always
just
thought
like-
it was. When he's seeing them and he's like sad, it's like, oh, well, his wife just died. Of course he's sad.
Right.
But not about Egwene. I don't know.
So anyway,
Sorry, I took somebody else's answer about the
It's a good
triangle.
answer.
Sorry.
That's fine.
I merged 2 things together.
Was there a part in the ways where, like, the voice is Machin Chen is talking to him and is like, his dialogue was, "You didn't really love her because you loved another woman."
Oh, well, that's episode 7 too, though. So that could have been
so
edited
that's
in.
yeah.
I don't know.
But
Yeah,
see, that's how that's where it oh yeah, okay, this is a weird love triangle type of thing.
But
Or-
the voice says
yeah.
you loved another woman, not
Oh,
that
that's
you
true.
loved
You're
another
okay.
woman.
I thought like,
Debunked.
but it's like your things that you think, but it doesn't necessarily make it true. It might just be guilt that he's feeling like he has this crush on Egwene. Now his wife's dead. He's been with Egwene.
Well, and
I don't know if that necessarally means that he does
Right.
love her.
The little dialogue we do get, he tells her, "I love you," and she says, "I know." She Han
Yeah.
Solos him.
Yeah.
Yep. and then at the end, he says, "The only woman I ever loved was my wife," and I think he really did mean that. In
Yeah,
that
I think so,
moment.
too.
I don't think he was saying,
No.
"No, I have the hots for Egwene, and this is uncomfortable for me." I think he's acknowledging, I did love my wife, but we had issues for whatever reason. She must have been jealous of Egwene for some reason. She didn't go to her, to her
Yeah.
ceremony, and there was something going on there. Maybe she lost a baby.
And they were all dancing together.
And they seemed happy.
Right. I don't. Yeah.
There's a question in the back.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that, like, when he hears the voices, like we find out in the last episode, the 7th episode, that Rand's voices that we hear aren't real. Like, as in, they've hidden what Rand heard, and then so is that really what Perrin heard? Like, or is it just Matchinson just going for something, like just picking threads, but not necessarily getting it right.
Yeah.
Like it, might hit the spot for some, but we already know that what we heard Rand here was wrong. So why not parent?
I love that. Masha
I
Chin
thought-
is unreliable.
Yeah, I assumed that he heard what we heard him hear, and also they just didn't show us the part about the dragon until later.
I want to know what Loyal heard because we
Yeah,
didn't
it
get
doesn't
that.
matter.
He matters.
Not in the show. Poor Loyal. All right, Vance.
Well, he
you wanna
heard that he
go?
was never going to get to read all those books. That's what he heard.
Yes, you'll never have the time to finish them all.
All right. So for my thing, my second thing that I really did not like was the ridiculously high number of fake out deaths we got within this first season. It's just too damn high. We got to do something about having stakes, and I feel like having these side characters who show up for an episode and don't get names sometimes, and then they're killed. Like, I don't have a connection to these people. They're just red shirts to me. So let's put our real characters in some actual danger. I know sometimes the books also weren't the best at this. Our characters seem to wiggle out of a lot of situations through some built-in plot armor multiple times. But at least I've always felt in the moment when I was reading some things like, are they actually going to get out of these situations? And I didn't really feel that in the show. And it was one of my greatest disappointments, and especially talking about the last episode with Nynaeve's fake out death. And for me, I felt like that could have been mitigated had they not gone so hard on, damn, her eyes are gone. Look with the makeup. They need to dial that back a bit. They could have just done with their level 1 looks like what I would call like a dead person burnout. Their level 4 was almost a charred corpse, and their level 7 was nothing, dust. So they need to tone that down. They have great talented effects people, and I think they can readjust for the future seasons. If they want to continue with fake out deaths, let's at least make them look like fake out deaths. Also, Moraine getting stabbed in the dream was like, yeah, I was super eye rolly at that moment. And then Rand stabbing himself. I rolled at that too. How do we get a main character fake out death in the last episode of the season is just beyond me. Yeah, that's true. He did roll his eyes at it. And so, side note, loved Ishmael.
I want to do a quick poll. How many people think that Agelmar is still alive? Oh, not that many. I don't know. I think he's dead. There's a couple of stragglers that think. I don't know. I saw a spear go through him pretty hard. But,
Yeah,
but there was
and
a
then
lot
he's
of talk about the
smuggling.
armor being good.
Yeah.
So who knows? I don't know.
Agomar?
Agomar?
Oh,
Lord
yeah.
Agomar, he was.
Lord Agelmar had like
Right. Did I?
Yeah, the
Agamar, not
Yeah, I'm like, did I-
Agomar, not Aganor.
How many people think Agenor is still alive?
Too many names. Too many names.
Off what you were saying about the fake out deaths, one of my problems was the fact that you could have this like sudden healing by crying over somebody when you have no experience whatsoever, no
Rapunzel.
training
Or talent.
or training with it, which like sort of brings down the stakes and abilities of someone who has that natural ability. And my favorite moment in the whole season was Nynaeve.
Yes.
Right?
Nynaeve.
When she just,
So that was a good fake out death moment because it was awesome. Just hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Those were good.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
So
that was when
I do
that
think-
scene when Lan's bleeding out of the neck. I was like, that's quite
That-
a lot of
that
blood
was
coming out.
another-
What are they gonna do right now?
All
Like,
right,
are they
all
gonna
right.
kill
So
Lan? Like,
caveat: that was another went too hard on it moment there
it
for the
was.
show.
It was like that. He should be dead. Like
Even if he
that
got
was a
healed,
lot.
he has no
Yeah.
blood left.
It's
It's gone
like-
out there.
Well, no, his blood was back in because it's
It's
not
just
there.
backwards back in.
There's like a puddle under him, and then after she heals him, the puddle's gone.
Oh,
So
that's great.
I guess she just collected it all from the dirt.
Unsanitary.
I just Nynaeve is the healer. So the fact that they gave Egwene such a big healing moment is like
There
that's
is a little
Nynaeve's
bit of
thing.
precedent for
Like,
that
why
though,
are-
because Moraine is telling Rand, he's like, "What am I gonna do when they're walking through the blight?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "You'll know when it comes." She tells that story about how she was tortured a bit by an older Aes Sedai,
Mhm.
and that's when she sort of found her strength.
Yep.
And, I think that's kind of what they're going with for Egwene's character is in those moments when you need it, it will come to you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like I say, their intent was there. I don't know if they pulled it off perfectly, but But for me, Rand has all kinds of instincts when it comes to channeling with no teacher. So it's kind of okay, maybe.
Yeah.
But I think, we had like these just huge moments for Nynaeve. And I really loved how they gave us Egwene doing that little fake out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And with Eamon Valda, and then she really focuses and channels just enough to burn Perrin's ropes. And she's like splitting weaves. I mean, it's amazing. And for me, that was an amazing moment. And this other one kind of took away some of that magic for me.
Yeah. I would
Of
agree
like,
with that.
so,
No pun
and
intended.
and her development. I think it messed up her development. So I'm waiting to see what they do with her learning in season 2.
Do want to just call it? We got 5 minutes.
Oh, who didn't go yet for the last? All right.
On the healing Nynaeve with Egwene, I wonder if it's a physical healing and that she's not good at, but since she was burned out, is it more of a spiritual healing?
Maybe the beginning of a block.
Yeah, or something, but if she's not physically healing her because it's a burnout, it might be a different kind of concept.
It looked like they were like legit burned, like physically burned, like on fire. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, but they
Yeah.
also had to scramble. So they had to basically screw it up. Just to get the episode out.
Right.
Right. And I will acknowledge the fact that because of COVID, that they couldn't, for some reason, do some of the things they had planned for that. They couldn't have all of the extras for that battle. That whole battle scene had to be reworked. And so we don't know what it would have been. And who knows, maybe she was supposed to give her mouth to mouth or something. And they were like, no, you can't do that. It's COVID. You can't,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, they were just right there.
Thank you.
Close to each other, breathing on each other. So
We got
All right.
3
Yep.
minutes.
I think we can officially call it. Thank you guys
Yeah.
so much for coming to the panel.
So thank you all for being a wonderful audience and very, very participation based.
Thank you guys. It was great.
All right. And do y'all mind if I take a picture of y'all? Oh, yeah. And we're ending the stream in 3, 2, 1.